Welcome back to the Animal Notebook channel, everyone. Let's jump right into today's highly requested explainer, Jaguar, master of the silent jump. We are diving headfirst into the incredible world of the America's absolute apex predator. We're talking about the third largest big cat on the planet, an animal totally steeped in mystery, raw power, and ancient legend. We're going to break down exactly what makes this magnificent creature tick, relying strictly on the facts and the data to give you the full picture.
To keep things structured, here's our agenda for today. We'll start with anatomy of an apex predator, then move into habitat and solitary life, master of the hunt, conservation and cultural legacy, and we'll wrap it all up with Jaguar frequently asked questions.
All right, Section 1, Anatomy of an Apex Predator, built for power. As the largest cat in the Western Hemisphere, this animal's anatomy is basically perfectly engineered. Ever wonder how to actually tell a jaguar apart from a leopard? It's all about the spots. A jaguar's spot pattern, called a rosette, acts like a totally unique fingerprint. And inside those larger rosettes, you'll actually find tiny, distinct inner spots. Leopards, on the other hand, typically just have empty rosettes. It's a really subtle detail, but it's absolutely crucial for telling the two apart.
And man, they are just built differently. Unlike cheetahs, which have that slender, built-for-speed frame, jaguars are pure, raw muscle. They have incredibly broad heads and these incredibly powerful jaws, and the males can tip the scales at a staggering 158 kilograms. That's roughly 350 pounds. Their legs are also a bit shorter and stockier, which basically makes them a heavily armored, all-terrain predator, perfect for climbing trees and swimming.
But here is the absolute craziest number you need to know: 1,500. That is their bite force in pounds per square inch. To put that into perspective for a second, that is literally twice as powerful as a lion's bite. Pound for pound, the jaguar possesses the absolute strongest bite of any big cat anywhere in the world. And you know, as we'll see in a minute, that insane jaw strength completely dictates how they hunt.
Moving right along to Section 2, Habitat and Solitary Life, the jungle's ghost. So where exactly do these massive, solitary creatures live?
Historically, jaguars ranged everywhere from the southern United States all the way down to Argentina. But sadly, that historic range has been slashed by about half. Now, we do still get some incredibly rare sightings of lone jaguars up in the US, places like Arizona and New Mexico, but the Amazon basin down in Brazil, that remains the absolute stronghold for the species today, boasting anywhere from 50,000 to 57,000 individuals.
And they practically vanish into that environment. Their camouflage perfectly blends into the dense rainforest. Those rosettes we just talked about wonderfully mimic the dappled sunlight filtering through the jungle canopy above, which is a super essential trait because adult jaguars are fiercely territorial and live almost entirely solitary lives. Males command massive territories, sometimes up to 150 square kilometers, and they really only ever cross paths with another jaguar for the brief purpose of mating.
Okay, Section 3, Master of the Hunt, the apex predator. Let's look at how they use that muscular frame to become absolutely flawless hunters.
I actually love this little piece of history. The very word jaguar originates from the indigenous Tupi-Guarani language. Their word yaguara translates directly to "he who kills with one leap." And honestly, that hits the nail on the head. They are ambush hunters through and through. They aren't going to chase prey down over long distances. Instead, they stalk in incredibly close and use a short, explosive charge to just instantly overpower their target.
And they are definitely not picky eaters. As opportunistic hyper-carnivores, they actually have over 87 recorded species on their menu, anything from capybaras and tapirs to giant river otters. But here is what truly separates them from a lion or a tiger. Instead of biting the neck to suffocate their prey, jaguars use that 1,500 psi bite force to just crush. They will literally pierce straight through the skull of a caiman, or effortlessly crunch right through a thick turtle shell. It's wild.
Section 4, Conservation and Cultural Legacy, Revering the King. Despite their total dominance on the food chain, we do need to talk about the reality of their survival today.
The situation really does require our urgent attention. The IUCN currently lists the jaguar as near threatened. Their numbers are declining primarily because of severe habitat fragmentation. When forests are cleared out for agriculture, jaguars lose their territory and their food. That naturally pushes them into human-wildlife conflict, which unfortunately results in a lot of retaliatory killings by ranchers who are just trying to protect their livestock. Add in the whole threat of poaching for the illegal wildlife trade, and the pressures on this magnificent cat are just immense.
But their importance just cannot be overstated. Today, scientists actually consider them an umbrella species. That means by protecting the massive habitats that jaguars need to survive, we're indirectly protecting thousands of other species in that same ecosystem. And this critical ecological role beautifully echoes how deeply revered they were in ancient history. To the Maya and the Aztecs, the jaguar wasn't just an animal, it was a powerful deity, a symbol of royal strength, and the absolute ultimate warrior of the night.
All right, final stretch. Section 5. Jaguar frequently asked questions. As promised at the start of our explainer, let's jump into a rapid-fire round of the 4 most common questions that always seem to surprise people. Let's tackle our first FAQ and clear up a huge misconception. We hear Black Panther all the time in movies and pop culture, but what is it actually?
The answer is yes. There's actually no completely separate species called a black panther. It's driven by a dominant gene mutation that just increases dark pigmentation, which, by the way, provides excellent camouflage in dense, dark forests. So black panthers in the Americas are literally just melanistic jaguars. In fact, if you see one standing in bright, direct sunlight, you can still perfectly make out those rosette patterns hiding right under the dark fur.
Moving to question 2. Can jaguars roar? Given they're a massive member of the Panthera genus, you might just assume they sound exactly like a lion.
Surprisingly, the answer is no. Despite their huge size, jaguars actually cannot produce a classic booming roar. Instead, they communicate using this totally unique, raspy, repetitive cough grunt. It's an intimidating noise known as a saw, because it quite literally sounds like a handsaw cutting back and forth through a piece of wood. They use this harsh sound to warn rivals and define their massive territories.
For our third FAQ, let's look at the classic feline stereotype. Domestic house cats usually hate getting wet, so how does the jungle's ghost deal with water?
Jaguars completely shatter that stereotype. They don't just put up with water, they absolutely thrive in it. Jaguars are exceptionally strong swimmers. They use their large, paddle-like paws to effortlessly swim across massive Amazonian rivers. They'll actively jump in just to cool off in the jungle heat. And as we noted earlier, they routinely plunge right into the water to hunt large fish or even drag massive caimans straight out of the river.
Finally, let's answer our fourth question. Given that the adults are so famously solitary, how do they start out in life? How long do the cubs stay with mom?
It's a surprisingly long learning process, honestly. Jaguar cubs are born completely blind and weigh a fragile 2 pounds. Because they are so incredibly vulnerable at first, and because hunting as an apex ambush predator takes immense skill, these cubs rely on their mothers heavily. They will stay right by her side for 1.5 to 2 full years, just mastering the art of the silent jump before finally setting out to claim a solitary territory of their own.
Which brings us to the very end of our explainer. I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. With their historic range reduced by half, what steps must we take to ensure the master of the silent jump continues to protect the balance of our ecosystems? Remember, as an umbrella species, protecting them means protecting our own environmental health. Thank you so much for exploring with us today here at Animal Notebook. Make sure to reflect on these questions, share what you've learned today, and as always, keep your curiosity wild.